All right, so I'm going to bring up my shero for a nice podcast interview. Leslie Smallwood-Lewis is co-founder of Mosaic Development Partners, LLC, a Philadelphia-based commercial real estate development firm. Her primary responsibilities include acquisition, entitlements, financial analysis, public funding, and the overall development process. Mosaic works with municipalities, not-for-profit organizations, investors, and fellow developers to transform and revitalize disenfranchised communities. Since its founding in 2008, Mosaic has developed over $54 million of real estate projects and has created over 200 construction jobs and 100 full-time jobs. Leslie is a graduate of Brown University and received her Juris Doctorate from Villanova Law School. Everyone, welcome to the stage, Leslie Smallwood-Lewis. Coming, Leslie.
Yes.
So I just read off your bio. Why don't you tell our audience a little bit about yourself in your own words?
Sure. Philly born and bred, went to Philadelphia School for Girls High for any of those from Philly, 228. So I went away for school, came back, missed my home cooked meals. And you know how Philly folks are. We don't really like to go too much. We're pretty stationary. So I came back. I had the benefit of working for a regional development firm, and I was able to get an inside look to what development is. Because, you know, most of us just don't know what that consists of. So I was there for 8 years. I started as an assistant development director, worked my way up to senior VP of development, and was a sponge. But what I recognized in every conference or symposium that I attended on behalf of the actual business, no one looked like me. There weren't women, there weren't black folk. I was like, wow, this city consists of so many minorities and so much diversity, but there was no diversity in the real estate development game. So my partner and I met each other there, and we decided in 2008 to really embark upon this on our own and go out and kind of do it our way, but also be inspiring to our community, because for the most part, we don't see this. And it's a little bit different than some of the deals that you may be doing in flipping and wholesaling, because that kind of real estate moves faster, which is nice because you're making money fast. But if you are interested in getting into development, you have to be aware that it's a slower game. It's a very capital intensive part of real estate, and that's why we haven't really been historically in it, because most of my counterparts, they had family and friends that invested in them. They were passed down businesses to the next generation. And case in point, Trump says that, you know, he was a self-starter. Really? Okay, he talks about $1 million, loan, which is great, but he was born into real estate. Right. And when you're doing real estate development, that's typically what you see. So for my partner and I to kind of step out on faith, and what we did was we threw our 401ks into the game, and we just started doing what we wanted to do, which means inspire and be in the neighborhoods, make a difference. Stop gentrification, but start gentrigation. That's a term that we've come up with that means we're not coming in to push people out of the neighborhoods or outprice them. We want to integrate with those that are there and who have actually lived through the disenfranchisement in their neighborhoods. And it's important. And the only way that you can actually do that is if you're at the developer level, or even the investor level, because now you're calling the shots. You're making the decisions, You're employing all of the professional vendors that are like-minded like yourself. You're communicating with the community members and stakeholders and engaging and involving them, and you can be intentional about what you're trying to get accomplished. So for us, we are just trying to we want to kind of create the way for you all. And we hope that you all can take advantage of what we're trying to get accomplished, and that we're just trying to make just a little impact, because trust me, it's very, very difficult in the city.
I can imagine. So, okay, you guys left your jobs in 2008. Talk us through, you took your 401ks. Talk us through how you did that first project. Like, how did you decide what you want to do? Like, where did the rest of the money come from? Like, how did all that work?
Yeah, great question. So, everyone will tell you that I keep it very real. And something that you have to be willing to do is crawl before you walk, walk before you run. So, we were very used to large projects based upon where we were, and we went out and we noticed that there was an RFP, a request for proposals, for those who don't know that acronym, for a lot right by Temple University, and it was being issued by the community. And most of you know that Temple has been expanding, so the neighborhood communities feel very concerned about the growth of the school and being pushed out. So we met with the community, and I guess 5 different entities submitted an RFP. But what we recognized and appreciated their concern. So we said to them, look, you've got a great asset here, and there's a way for you to start generating revenue for yourself if you look at this site for its highest and best use. They were really thinking strictly just affordable housing. So we said, why don't you do this? Split it in half. Designate the half for affordable, but you know student housing is lucrative. Split it in half. Build a student housing project. That way, you're not getting pushed out. You're part of the process, and you're making money off of the process. So they accepted our project. Now, you know, we're crazy. We're talking $20 million project. No way to finance $20 million on our own. We had stepped out only 5 months before. So we found a developer who was established in the city, and we forged a partnership with them. But what was good, we had leverage because we controlled the land along with the community. We had the idea, we had the design, so that we could negotiate a relatively good ownership deal with the established developer. So that's how we started. And with each project, we negotiated a greater percentage and so on. So now we're at the point where we're able to do our own projects, finance, go out, acquire the debt, acquire the equity. But it's been a process. But in the meantime, we've grown. We've created the jobs. We've now done over $54 million of projects. But we did partner, and it makes a lot of sense, because to have zero, if you don't do that, then you're going to have zero. It's much smarter to create a partnership.
So talk to me about how you found these other developers. Like, tell me about that whole process. How did you work it out? What, who were you looking for? Did you already know them? Like, explain that whole process.
No, we didn't know our first partner at all. Actually, they were established in West Philly by University of Pennsylvania, but they were looking for opportunities in the Temple area. So it actually, the dots were connected by someone. And I think Tracy talked about networking and talking to people, and you never know who you might know and who that person might know. So through a conversation from, I think, a fellow colleague of ours, they said, well, we know a developer that's kind of snooping around in the Temple area looking for opportunities. Let me connect you. And that's what they did, and we spoke to them. They were very intrigued by the property, its location, the design that we had come up with, and that's how we partnered. And the next deal, we partnered with the same developer because we had already established a relationship, a rapport. We created value for them, so they saw the benefit of doing another deal with us. And we actually have 1/3 deal with them that we're doing as well.
So what did you, okay, so I'm asking you questions that probably people never ask, because I want someone in here to walk before they crawl like you did, right? Who wants to walk before they crawl? I'm not encouraging it, but this type of stuff that I do. So ridiculous stuff. So I want to at least give them an inside track on how to actually do it. So this is a two-part question. One, those 5 months that after you left and before you actually started this project, what were you working on? What were you thinking? How did you feel? And what did you prepare? Like, how did you convince these other developers to partner with you?
Well, nervous, because honestly, we left lucrative, cushy jobs. And then if people remember, we left in July of 2008, and the recession hit October, November. So it was a very stressful time at the very beginning, because everyone was then scouring to try to figure out, oh my God, what are we doing with all of our real estate assets? But the first 5-6 months were tough, because we had to go all in to make it happen. So we did have to set aside a bit of money of our own to just try to live. But we did teaching, we did, some part-time gigs. Multiple streams of income. You got to figure out how to do it. But in regards to really attracting the partner, we had to be able to present a project that was going to give them returns. That's always going to be the bottom line in a development project and any real estate project. There's got to be an adequate return to yourselves and any investors that you actually have come into your projects. So we did. We were able to show to them that this was something worth investing in, and we were people worth investing in as well. How long did they kind of scout you? Yeah, let's see. That's a good question. So, you know what? It actually wasn't that long, which is not always the case. So we were pretty fortunate in that regard. I would say we responded to the RFP. We left our jobs in July. We responded to the RFP in November. We heard word in February. We went out to the market to find a partner immediately. And I think we inked a deal in June with them. So it took about 3 or 4 months for them to kind of get comfortable, but there wasn't that much comfortable to get, because it's not like we had a track record at that point. We just had a project that looked good, and it had good projected returns. Do you feel like the recession that had hit shortly after, do you feel like that worked in your favor? It did, yeah. And what's interesting is that as we came out, we were already thinking lean. And a lot of developers before that time were just spending money. They're like, things are looking great. We're going to even spend more than with the asking price. We came out with such a lean budget. We were always thinking tight. How do we figure out these projects so that they're not going to cost as much, they're not going to need as much private capital and equity. So when we actually structured the deal, they saw, oh my goodness, they get it. They can come up with ways to make these numbers work, even on the leanest of budgets. And how we did it with that one, we ended up being the first largest modularly constructed building in the city. We learned early on, unions in Philly, it sometimes makes projects cost prohibitive, and that wasn't going to work for us. So we did crazy research on modular construction. We visited multiple manufacturing factories out in Middle Pennsylvania, and we built that student housing building in 9 months. We started in November. We were open and operating in August of 2012. We were so savvy on how not to spend money. We had all of the furniture shipped out to the factory, trucked in, and lifted with the crane to avoid having on-site, taking all of the furniture up the steps, up the elevator, paying for a union carpenter, paying for a union elevator operator to get all of that furniture into the units. That's how we have thought from day one, because we didn't have the luxury of thinking otherwise because we weren't highly capitalized.
So, okay, so you did this project. It worked really well for you and the other developers. Talk us through that next project.
Okay. So next project, again, thinking creatively. We had approached the Reinvestment Fund. I don't know if anyone knows that entity, but it's a local community development financial institution. And they're very mission-based, and they are very big on food deserts and making sure that quality foods are coming into our neighborhoods. So we saw an opportunity at the old Thomas Edison High School at 7th and Lehigh, and it's been a building that had been vacant for years, and we said, you know what? There's no user that's coming into this 400,000 square foot building in this neighborhood. So we said the only thing to do is tear it down and replace it with a community shopping center, with a grocery store, and other goods and services. So we went to the Reinvestment Fund and said, we have an idea. We want to bring in good foods into this neighborhood. They said, all right, if you can pull this off, we're going to give you $250,000 in a loan, but if you develop this project, we will forgive that loan and it will become a grant. So we were like, okay. We're gonna
Shopping plaza it is.
out, right? So we went, we secured the anchor tenant. We were able to, this is some funny stuff. The school district had the building listed for $2.5 million. We were able to negotiate, because it was in a really challenged neighborhood. We were able to negotiate it for $600,000. And not only, because we didn't really have a lot of money, I'm keeping it real, folks. We asked the school district, to hold the paper. So we were like, yo, we got $25,000 to put down as a deposit. Can y'all hold the paper on this mortgage? They were like, you know what, to get it off of our books as just like straight debt, we will do this. They held the paper for a year and a half till we got that project all pulled together, and we closed on that property and they were thrilled. So it's all about, it's all about being creative, thinking outside the box, because our circumstances often call for us to be thinking outside the box, because we don't have the easy solution by just having that capital beside us, behind us. So that's the kind of creativity that we've been able to really utilize to make our projects viable. We've also used a lot of tax credit financing that has been really helpful, which has allowed equity to be infused into our projects so that we did not have to go out to the private market for all of the equity for our deals. That has been very helpful too.
So explain to everyone how that works.
So one of the most viable tax credit programs we've used is the New Market Tax Credit Financing. And basically what it does is that financial institutions like banks or like insurance companies they need tax write-offs. So what they do, they invest in certain census tracts. Most of them are usually very challenged, and that's where most of our projects are. And in lieu of using their cash, they're able to get these tax credits and tax deductions, on their taxes. But what it does, it literally creates equity for our projects. Case in point, some of you might know of our project, Eastern Lofts, over in Strawberry Mansion. It was a $7.3 million project, and the debt on that is $3,050,000. We were able to generate $3.2 million of tax credits, which is not money that has to be paid back. So that's what made that project work. If we had to find if the 3.2 in tax credits had to have been debt or typical private equity, project would never work. It would never ink out, and you've heard people say, you gotta do your homework. Financial analysis is key. It would never have inked out if we didn't secure those tax credit programs. It's intricate.
the more, if you want to know, please reach out to myself or my partner, Greg. We're busy, but we also want to be able to be a vehicle and a way to be able to really show people how some of these projects can work.
Awesome, thank you. Yes, please make sure you reach out to her. We'll make sure you guys get her information. So, okay, so you guys have a project now that you're working on. Why don't you tell us about that project?
You asking all the right questions.
I try.
So we are working on a project right now. It's called Galovski Labs, and I hope that everyone logs in. Actually, no, I'm not going to hope. I want everybody right now to log in to www.smallchange.com. My partner always says, always give people a call of action. I'm giving you all a call of action. That is a crowdfunding platform. And on that, you will find our project, Galovski Labs. It's in Wayne Junction. It's a $7.3 million mixed-use project, 40 apartments. Smart technology will be in the apartments. There will be about 25,000 square feet of commercial space, multicultural co-working space, maker space. We've got an office for a civil design firm. We have a restaurant coming. It's wonderful because it's also right around Ken Weinstein's projects that he has slated for the same neighborhood. So it's a project worthwhile really investing in because there's a lot of money going into that neighborhood, which means that your investment will make sense. Minimum investment is $500. The real estate development game typically has been reserved for accredited investors only. In the Jobs Act, which was passed in 2009, it opened up the possibilities of non-accredited investors investing in real estate projects. We are incorporating that into our projects, and we want to do that even going forward, but this is our first one. And I encourage you to go on that platform. Everything you want to know about that project is there. There's a video, there's projections of returns. And I don't know if you, some of you may have attended the tax strategies, but being an investor allows you to have some tax benefits that you might not be able to take advantage of if you're typically doing fast deals. There's different, and Trump does it because that's how he's made his money. He's very smart about that. So if you invest in this project, there will be some tax benefits that you all can take advantage of. So I definitely urge you. We extended the time to be able to invest until the end of this month on your suggestion and recommendation. Because there is going to be so many people here, and we hope that you all will definitely take a look and learn. It's also an opportunity to learn. The other thing I do want to stress is that if you want to get into development, if you invest in this project, it'll give you an opportunity to get an inside look to development. We will be giving our investors monthly updates. You'll be very invested in a project that you could come by and be able to see how construction is going. So I think all of that could be an added benefit for only a minimum of $500 investment. The other thing that I think Atia mentioned is that think long term. These development projects, they're not short-term money. I'm telling you right now, you got to keep your money in for a minimum of 7 years because of the financing that we use in our projects. But think of your kids. Think of the children that you even haven't had yet. For you to be able to put in some money in a project and just not even have to think about it, set it aside. This is an opportunity to do that. We'll have another opportunity like this also in 2019, probably March, April. We're doing a hotel. I'm very excited.
A Marriott.
We actually just purchased the old Blue Horizon venue. We closed on it about 2 weeks ago. We're going to be doing a Marriott franchised hotel on North Broad. So we will be having a carve out for some of the investment in that project as well. But this might be a good project to get your feet wet and just start to see what it's all about.
The other thing, if you did end up going to that site, they put a lot of financial data on there too. So it's information that you can learn from as well, like right on a smallchange.com.
Yes, that's absolutely right. The projections, the entire investor disclosure packet, even if you elect not to invest, it's a learning tool. You'll see how these projects are evaluated, what kind of returns that investors, accredited investors, are looking for, because this project was set up as primarily for accredited investors. Right now, we're oversubscribed for accredited investors, so I'm holding back just for a moment to see how many smaller investors are going to be interested. It's in an opportunity zone, and I'm not sure if that was talked about. I'm sure it was earlier in the day, but under Trump's new tax code, projects that are in opportunity zones, if you've got capital gains that you want to invest, there is a real significant benefit and savings for those who can invest capital gains. So we have a bunch of accredited investors like, oh my God, you have a shovel-ready project in an opportunity zone? So they're calling, they're coming out the woodwork now. But we want to make sure those of you who have interest that are smaller investors, please take advantage of this opportunity before we have to go strictly to accredited investors.
Yes, thank you. Okay, so I have one last question. I know it's super short. I could sit here all day, but we got to be out of here soon. So I have one last question for you. So when you left, before you left your job, so you were working with developers and you had this idea in your head of what it's going to be like. What is that idea? How does that compare to now here we are 10 years later? What is the difference? What is the biggest thing you've learned? Like just something that's really, really meaty about what it's actually like to be out here on your own as a developer.
Relationships. I think Tracy also said, be willing to help other people, because through helping other people, you yourself grow, and you also build your toolbox, as people have referred to. I will say what I've learned is that it is very capital intensive. So you really will need to, when you start partnering, you need to partner with someone. Get that first project under your belt with a partner, because development is tough. It's tough. But not impossible, because we just celebrated our 10th year and we saw the recession, we got through it, and we've been able to even have successes because even though we started with very little capital, so it's not impossible. But use us as a resource. We can't, and we say all the time, we're not taking this knowledge with us. We want to share it. We're on the other side. I'm 50, am I 52? Yeah, I'm 52. I was about to say 53. I'm 52, and the one thing I want to make sure is that what's in our head, the knowledge that we've been able to acquire over the last 10 years, that we don't take it with us. So we want to share it as much as we possibly can to make, hopefully, your journey as successful as ours has thankfully been, but maybe even a little easier than ours has been. So definitely try to hook us, link up with us, and so that we can get into a little bit more of the granular stuff about development. We did have one workshop that everyone that attended was really appreciative, because we really opened up our books. We opened up and just really took the mystique away from it. And we're thinking about doing more of those. So if we get some feedback that people think that might be helpful, I think we're going to be more than anxious to do that. So.
Thank you so much, Leslie. This was awesome. Why don't you have any more call to action? Anybody tell everyone where they can find you?
Yeah, sure. Look us up at mosaicdp.com. That's our web address. There is a contact there that you can shoot us an email. It comes directly to my phone. I will respond. And then just please go on smallchange.com and check out that project. I think you'll learn quite a bit about what we do.
Yes. Thank you so much, Leslie. This was awesome. Give me a hug.